Good evening, good evening, good evening, good evening. Come on in, Prospect Hill, to our family and friends, and to those who are sharing with us on this evening, and our virtual church family. It's good to have you on tonight with this special edition of Text Talk with Pastor D. But tonight we won't focus on the biblical text, but we will talk about and find out more about this vaccine from the professional, and so we can learn more about it, as well as get better informed as we make this decision to get the vaccination and move forward during this pandemic time in our lives. Prospect Hill family and friends, do me a favor, share, please. Press that share button and share this conversation so we can get the word out, not to just the Prospect Hill family, but to the St. Louis community at large. We have with us today, and we're so happy to have him, one of our heroes in this city, none other than Dr. Lavert Morrow. So happy to have him, physician, longtime physician. He's no stranger to our community, but he has kindly come to share information concerning the vaccine, and we can have this conversation. Dr. Morrow, I'm so glad to have you with us. You're a friend of Prospect Hill, friend of my father's for years. You all came up together, so glad to have you with us on tonight. Can you tell us about yourself, how long you've been practicing, and just tell us about a little bit about yourself.
Thank you, Pastor, for inviting me today. As I came in, I said it was a long time since I've been at Prospect Hill. I remember when the church was being built, your daddy had me to make sure I donate to get some seats. So I got to look around and find out where it went, so I don't know. My name is Lavert Morrow. I was born and raised in the city of St. Louis. I proudly attended the Sodan High School. Graduated from Sodan High School, went to Westminster College for a bachelor level degree. I went to Meharry Medical School in Nashville, Tennessee. After completing the MD degree at Meharry, I did my residency training at the King Drew Medical Center in Los Angeles, LA. After that, I returned back to St. Louis and started my private practice of family medicine. I've been trained as a family physician. I've been practicing now for 41 years. I'm a proud member of the Lavert Missionary Baptist Church.
Whoa.
Dr. Tate is our pastor.
That's our pastor. That's right. That's our pastor. Amen. Amen. So happy to have you with us on today. And some of our members are your patients. Some of them are your patients. That's awesome. Okay, so let's have this conversation. Tell us about this vaccine. Just inform us.
The COVID vaccine.
Let's switch mics. Can we switch mics? Is that okay? Yeah, okay. That's my preaching mic, so it's a little better.
This was a little
Yeah, there you go. That's the preaching mic. So this is what people can't preach.
Okay, right. The COVID vaccine in regards to COVID-19 virus that's out. This virus is for real. I have lots of people come around, even patient states that, no, this is nothing, it's only just like the flu. I'm not really worried about it, but however, in our patient population, particularly in the African American community and people of color, this disease affects us disproportionately than it does others. Because one of the things that if you're associated with having diabetes, and I'm sure lots of our people, my particular patients have diabetes, you're at risk. If you have high blood pressure, obesity, these things put you at risk. If you have any lung disease, it puts you at even higher risk. This is a virus. It's a serious virus. It's been the worst. We're in the midst of a pandemic, which is something that affects people all over the world, not just in the U.S. and Missouri, St. Louis, it's all over the world. There has been approximately getting close to 500,000 people died in the U.S. from this disease. So this is not like a little flu or anything. This is a serious disease. There's about 25 million people in the U.S. who have the disease. It's new. We don't know that much about it. It's only been around for about 1 year. So it's difficult to try to predict and say what will happen in the future. What's so significant about it is that I see patients in my practice who come in and they'll have a cough. They have disturbance with their smell and taste. They have fever, they have chills, and you get the test done, the test comes back positive, and I've seen people die from this virus. So this is not a plaything. This is a huge effect on our community. Even that is not bad enough. Is that there's people who get the virus and they have illnesses even after the virus has been cleared away and the testing has come back negative. They still have significant after effects from the disease. I have people who are, I'll give an example of one in particular. 35-year-old black male comes in, worker, manual worker, big, healthy, prime of life, got the virus, and after the virus is cleared 2 or 3 months later, he still is fatigued. Fatigue is another big thing that happens. He can't walk 50 feet without having to stop and catch his breath and sit down. Now, prior to this, he was still playing basketball and having fun with his friends and having a full-time job. So the after effects of getting the virus and what it can affect your body and other illnesses that you get, we still don't know the full range of that yet. But it's significant and it's serious. So therefore, we don't have any medicines now that we can say, well, if you take this medicine, we can cure it. We don't have that. If you get it, there's things that are symptomatically we treat you for. Try to help you breathe, try to cut down the fever, try to do things like that, but nothing to adversely affect the virus. So there is no significant treatment as of yet. Therefore, it leads us to say, what can we do? We can get a vaccine that helps prevent you from getting the virus, and if you do get it, decrease the amount of symptoms and side effects that you have from the virus. And the vaccines work. That's the big thing. I remember being a child, preteen, and we had a family friend who had a brace on her leg, and the leg was smaller from the knee down, and she had polio. That was the result why she wore the brace. I didn't understand what polio was, but my mother and father told me about it. Said that was a large range, rapid disease going through. We have vaccines for polio. So people took the polio vaccine, we don't see polio anymore. So the vaccines work. I remember going to school, this is 6, 7 years old, and they had to line us up, and we stood by, and the classmates and everyone was in a line, and they gave us vaccinations in our arm. And this was like little pins that they stuck in, multiple, not just one stick, it was multiple sticks. And it was for smallpox. And if you didn't have your smallpox vaccine, you couldn't go to school. But smallpox is almost eradicated from the face of the earth. It was a rampant pandemic like we have now. But smallpox vaccine worked, and you don't see smallpox anymore. It's almost eradicated. They may have 1 or 2 cases somewhere, someplace, small, but it's basically gone because of the vaccine. So the point I like to make to our community is that vaccines work.
Okay. So what do you say, because we also know that in the history of this country, vaccines have not been the kindest to the African American race. I mean, such as the Tuskegee experiment. So what do you say to those of us who are skeptic about the government and their use of vaccine in previous years and how it affected our people. Because I'm one of them. I'm on the fence. So you got to make me believe tonight.
Has the United States government been equitable in healthcare matters to African Americans? The answer, of course, is no. They have not. You bring up the case of the Tuskegee studies that were done. During my tenure as a student, I did what we call an externship, which is like a summer studies at Tuskegee, personally.
Oh, wow.
And I also did a rotation of obstetrics and delivering babies. I delivered a bunch of babies down at Tuskegee. So I had time to go there, and I was at the VA hospital in internal medicine, and we did get a chance to review some of the data and stuff that was there at Tuskegee, and saw how cruel and unjust that testing and experimentation was. However, and there are other things throughout the healthcare in regards to people of color, particularly African Americans and other people of color in this country, that the U.S. government has not been forthright with us. This is my answer to that. I've seen people get this virus, and I've seen people die. There's 500,000, this is not 1, 2, 3 people. There's 500,000 people in this country who are dead from this virus. I gave you examples from smallpox to polio. I can use measles, mumps, rubella. All these things are vaccines that can work. The question then becomes to say, well, if you get the COVID-19 vaccine, will that work? And we've not said we haven't got anything now that can treat you. So you're going to be on the odds of saying, do I roll the dice and take the risk of getting the disease and dying, which we died disproportionately to, or do I take the vaccine and increase my risk of surviving? And it's just that simple. I got the vaccine. I got 2. I got the Pfizer vaccine, and had to get one, then 21 days later get the other one. The first time I got the vaccine, put it in my left shoulder, and at that time, no major problems, except that about 1 or 2 days, the left shoulder was a little achy at the spot that they gave me the vaccine. Which is common. But for me, I usually don't have any kind of problems with it. But it did ache a little bit. The second time I got it, I put it in the same shoulder, and I had no problems whatsoever. So, getting the vaccine to help prevent you from getting disease is paramount now. Not in understanding our history that we had. I admit to that. But now for our patients and what we're seeing, you need to get the vaccine.
Okay. I got a couple questions I want to ask you. Let's start with precautions. I mean, we've kind of been in this going on a year next year, and with precautions, can you make us understand and help us to further understand the importance of wearing masks, even though it's difficult, it gets on our nerves or whatnot. The mask, the sanitizing, which is something we should be doing anyway, but the importance of it so that we don't get so lax and begin to maneuver as we did pre-COVID. Can you just give us a little bit more as a doctor of things that we can do to tighten up just to make sure that things are properly sanitized and kept clean, and things that we can do to help ourselves?
Yeah. The reason for wearing the mask, because this particular virus is airborne, which means it's in the air. It also comes out in droplets. And so if you have it and you speak to someone and you don't have a mask on, you can take that virus, can spray it to another person. Usually 6 feet is the gold standard that we use for now. That's just a ballpark. If you're talking loud, or if you're in a church now, if you're singing out and doing things, that can spread even further than 6 feet. wearing a
So you
mask.
hooping and hollering and okay, so I'm gonna preach from a baptism pool. That's what, okay, go ahead.
But that can even spread it even further. So if we don't have anything to treat it, we can get vaccine to try to prevent it. But meanwhile, even with the vaccine going on, we still need to try to keep it from spreading from one another. Okay, so the masking helps with that. The sanitizing with the various solutions, soap and water or the alcohol-based sanitizing things also are helpful. Because if you cough and you use your hand to cough and you get it there, you can spread it, and touch. And so those things are needed.
So what is the timeline? If I was to sneeze and, okay, this is say I'm by myself. I sneeze, the droplets fall on the table. Okay, somebody comes behind me, not knowing. What's the timeline of the coronavirus living on this surface before it's able to infect someone else who comes in contact with it?
Not known. The thing of it is that it depends upon what the surface, whether it's porous or not porous, laminated or not laminated, those kinds of things can deter the length of time that it stays. But no one knows how long can it stay there before you can get an infection, or if it stays there and you can't get an infection. That's not known.
Okay. Now, toothbrush. With us brushing our teeth and whatnot, toothbrushes. How often would you recommend during this pandemic that we change our toothbrushes? These are some things that came up in my head, as well as people who text me say, ask them this. So just tell us about that. What's your thoughts on that?
Changing toothbrushes. I'm not a dentist, so I can't say the exact time to change. But one of the things to do during the pandemic is that you're brushing your teeth and using your toothbrush. If you have a mouth rinse, an alcohol-based mouth rinse, that you can rinse your toothbrush in, you're still okay.
Oh, okay. That's
so
good.
Put your Listerine and
Okay. Dr. Morrow, it's cold season, sinus season. So how do we not confuse those things with that of COVID? Is there a way to know, to separate the difference between the two, because their symptoms are so close? So how will we go about understanding the common cold versus that of this virus?
The symptoms are similar, so it's difficult to tease out, do I have just a flu virus or do I have a COVID virus? The way to find out about that is get tested. And so if you go in to you have the cough and you're cold and sneezing and runny nose, and you get the testing for, do I have influenza A or influenza B, or do I have COVID? Okay. Clinically, it's difficult to distinguish the two. One of the things I found in just clinical practice is that having a disturbance of the taste and smell leads you more toward COVID than not. But you can still have problems with taste and smell with flu and sinus also. Okay. So it's difficult, but the testing is the way to answer that question.
Okay, so just get tested. For those who are having colds in that nature, just go ahead and get tested to be on the safe side. A couple things I'm going to ask you about this, and then we'll let the people talk. I know I don't want to hold you here all night. What's our time like?
We've been on for 20 minutes.
We've been on for 20 minutes, okay, because we just came about an hour. Okay. With the vaccine, there has been various social media videos that have gone out talking about what's inside of the vaccine that's disturbing some people. And I have seen a couple of videos that talked about aborted babies. Is that true? Is it myth? Is it false? I mean, what do you know about what's inside the vaccine that they're trying to put in us?
Difficult question.
Okay.
The thing of it is that there's lots of myth that is out in the social media. Everything you read on the blog is not necessarily true. we have to try to distinguish between those things. The way that the system works is that there are certain drug companies who manufacture these vaccines have to go through drug protocols, and they have to go through studies to say what's in, what's out, can it work, what's the safety of it. We've had a difficult time in the last 4 years with the previous administration, is that a lot of the scientific study information flow was disrupted. There's an organization called the CDC, or the Center for Disease Control, which is like the gold standard for infectious diseases in the U.S. As a matter of fact, even across the world. That institution was disrupted by the political sector last administration, and did not let the science and information flow as it normally would. But now they're trying to just get it back. As a physician, as a practicing physician, I would say that if the CDC had approved it and it went through the protocols of the National Institutes of Health, if those things, we would say, oh, CDC said it's okay, then as a practicing physician, I say, yep, it's okay. Last 4 years, questioned. Now, it's getting back to where it was. So what's inside of it, or it's not necessarily the things that you hear on social media saying they've got bugs in it, they've got, I've heard people talking about having various types of electronic devices to bug you and find out who you are around the world, et cetera, but that's myth.
Okay. Explain to us, a person gets vaccinated and they begin to feel the symptoms of COVID. Is that natural? Is that supposed to happen? Or is that just a reaction to it invading the body and it's setting up resistance? Or explain to us how that could happen. Because I have a member who that happened to. He went in for the shot, and after the shot, he wasn't feeling, he had a couple of days where he was just down. He's still recovering now.
That's a reaction to the shot that says that the shot is working.
Okay.
What immunizations do is that they introduce various particles into your body to make your immune system to react, and to say your body is going to produce what we call antibodies against it.
Right.
The antibodies guard for you, and they say if another bug would come back in and you already have the antibodies for it, your body says, oh, I recognize this, I'm going to send my guards out to stop it and block it and keep it from infecting me. That's how immunizations really work. And when you get the shot, sometimes, you can, like I said, I had no symptoms at all, but you can have symptoms of the disease, but usually it's short-based, and that means that your immune system is working.
Okay. Another thing, and then I'm going to turn to the questions we have on here. I don't want to wear you out, but we're all trying to get understanding.
No problem.
Now, it's been said that certain blood types, I'm not sure which one it is, but certain blood types, if you have one blood type, that's your chances are high you will get it, versus another blood type, you will not get it. Is that true or false?
I'm not aware of that. I think that's more on the myth side.
Okay, now let's see here. We got some questions on here. Let's start with this question. Dr. Morrow, do you know which vaccine is the better one?
At this point in time, there are 2 in the U.S. that are available, Pfizer and Moderna, about the same. There's one coming online now, Johnson & Johnson has one.
We don't trust them no more.
That's coming out.
All thing I trust is a baby oil.
And theirs is coming out within the next week or so. My thing and my advice to the patients is, whichever one you can get.
Okay.
So it doesn't make a difference between the 3 so
Okay, so get which one that you're able to get to, Pfizer, Moderna, the two that are out there on the market. Dr. Morrow, do you have the vaccine available at your office for those who aren't necessarily a patient of yours?
No.
No.
Right now, the distribution is marked up as to coming from guidelines nationally now, since the administration has changed. That there are guidelines as to say who can get the vaccine. And it's based upon age, it's based upon disease entities, as to who can get it. As more of the vaccines come out, it's getting close to the point in time, and I'm not sure when, because it changes from week to week, but within a month or so, everybody should be able to get it. And so it's gonna be an effort more than just going to your doctor's office. This is gonna be things where you have to have big, vast vaccination sites, going to the arenas and standing in line and giving them. There's some parts of the country, you can come to churches. They have alliances with churches where they will set up health clinics so that people can come to the church to get it. So just going to the doctor's office is not, it's going to be efficient enough to do such a mass vaccination.
All right, Dr. Morrow, is there any data stating if those individuals who died or had severe reactions from the vaccine had the same blood type or the same allergies?
Blood type, I'm not sure about.
Okay.
Allergies, if you have what we call anaphylaxis, where you have to have like an EpiPen to stick yourself if you're allergic to bees or peanuts or things that you have vast allergic reactions, it's contraindicated for them now. But if you have a regular just allergy, you're allergic to penicillin or you're allergic to sulfur or things like that, that doesn't require you to have anaphylaxis, then you still can take it.
Okay. Okay, Dr. Morrow, do you suggest that young children that have asthma should get the vaccine?
Right now, the vaccines are 18 years old and older. They're still working on as to do the studies for when children can get it.
Okay.
Under 18. So right now, it's recommended 18 and older.
Okay, speak up a little bit more too, Dr. Dr. Morrow, if you had COVID, do you still need to take the vaccine?
Good questions. That's going to depend upon your antibody levels that you can get to see whether or not that your body get a response up to get your antibodies level up from a natural infection. Most of the time, you end up having to get a vaccine anyway.
Right.
But it depends upon those levels. You have to get an antibody level test to see how far you are. And we still don't know if you get the COVID now and how many months later that you still have those antibodies available to you, or you still protected or not. We don't know. It's still early. We haven't had a year or 5 years of study to see what would happen.
Okay, and so Dr. Morrow has already answered this question. He did have his vaccine, and he did have soreness in his left arm that he stated that. Okay, between Pfizer and Moderna, have you seen the okay, between Pfizer and Moderna, which one have you seen the worst side effects?
About the same.
About the same? Okay. Okay. Is it possible to have had the virus before it was introduced and was labeled as an upper respiratory infection? And if so, is it likely that you will get it again?
Is it possible to have the virus prior to us knowing what it was? Yes.
Okay, so it is possible to get the virus again.
I didn't
Okay.
understand this. The question that I understood was that if you had an upper respiratory tract infection, that it was labeled from the doctor,
Okay.
but it was truly a COVID.
Okay.
Yes, that could have happened.
Okay. Oh.
So before a year ago, 9 months or 10 months ago, people had illnesses that we didn't know what it was, and it was COVID.
It was COVID.
Yeah.
There are multiple pharmaceutical companies making the vaccine. How do we know we are receiving the highest quality and not the watered down version? Do you know the number of people who died from the vaccine? Vaccine introduced the virus into your body so antibodies can be formed, but it depends on your immunity system prior to getting the vaccine.
I can't follow that question.
Okay, I'm gonna go back up. There are multiple pharmaceutical companies making the vaccine. How do you know we are receiving the highest quality and not the watered down version? I'll stop right there.
Again, in the U.S., there's only 2 available. And so those 2 have been studied and reviewed, and they're up around the 94-95% effective category. And they're about the same.
Okay.
Now, when you say a watered down version, I'm not sure what that.
A lesser form of the, I guess, the Pfizer version, whichever one is the best, I don't know. But
they're about the same. So.
Right. Okay. So what she's saying is, as we go along and more pharmaceutical companies are producing a vaccine, how we know what's the high quality from what's the downgraded. Kind of like, you know how y'all do with that medicine, you got your good version, then you got the little alternate brand. So, so it's kind of like, how would you know which one is the highest quality versus just a version to get us by, but it's not really as potent as that, you know, high quality stuff.
The studies, in order for the drug to get to be okayed by the FDA, to be approved, they have to meet certain standards. And so those standards are met before they begin to be approved. So those 2 that we have out have went through all the testing and they've been approved. Unless you're talking about someone gets it and they supposed to give it to you, but they water it down or they get, you know, they dilute. If you're gonna have I can't talk about my daddy now, but he would have liquor that he would have in there 2 fingers, but he had 3 fingers, he put some water in it. And so, is that what you're talking about? So that's what I don't understand.
Okay, let's look at this last one here. I see, let's see. Quality versus generic. I think that's what we're talking about. For the quality versus the generic of the vaccines. But right now, we wouldn't know what a generic is because it's still brand new. So we couldn't really call any of it generic at this point.
Correct.
Okay, so, all right, let's this. What the question is, once you've had COVID, what's the average time the after effects last? After 2 months, I still have some of them. So this individual has had COVID, and they're saying that they're still having some after effects. And how long does those after effects last?
Nobody knows.
Nobody knows.
I told you before an example of a patient who had it,
right,
and then months later, they still have difficulties.
Right.
And so how long does it last? We don't know. Nobody knows the answer to that question.
And what you said is true. It was during our New Year's Eve worship, and we had a few of the ladies who had COVID was witnessing and testifying, but all of them were talking about how they ended with different, one lady said she ended up with pneumonia, another young lady said she ended up with respiratory issues and whatnot with her breathing, so it affects everybody differently. I'm assuming because of whatever condition your body is in, is that right?
We don't know.
We don't know.
Because it's so new that we can't say, for example, if you have it, what's going to happen to me 18 months from now or 24 months from now? No one's had it 24 months, so we don't know. We can't predict how long it's going to stay on.
Okay.
Stay on, and that's the problem. And there are even people who have it and don't have any symptoms at all, and we don't know what's going to happen to them a year from now.
Okay.
Because it's still new.
Still new.
Still new. So if someone says you can get it and 10 days or 14 days is over and 24 days is over, we don't know.
Okay. All right, Dr. Morrow, Walgreens and CVS pharmacies are able to give the vaccine. Will you suggest you go to your primary doctor, or is it safe to get it done at Walmart or CVS pharmacy?
The CVS and Walgreens are on the list be able to distribute it. It's not, I don't think they're there yet. I think they're gonna get the Johnson & Johnson one because that one doesn't require this super freezing type of thing. And so it'll be easier for them to maintain it in a regular refrigeration and they can be able to get it out. It doesn't make a difference, not with this thing going on now, if you can get it, get it. Whether you get it from Walgreens or CVS or mass clinics or whatever, hospitals, if you can get it, get it.
Get the vaccine, Dr. Morrow says, wherever you can get it. If you can't get to your local physician, get to wherever it is being offered. Is it a danger to take the vaccine and you are positive for COVID-19?
Depends. Again, if you're positive for it, do you have antibodies that you're naturally made? If you're positive and you have symptoms, I would say hold off before you get the vaccine. But you can be positive and have no symptoms. This is something still new, we don't know. So if you're symptomatic, I would say hold off. But if just because you're positive or was positive, you didn't have the vaccine, you still may be a candidate for it.
Okay. Now, I want you to help me to help the people. Because I've heard this verbalized a lot in various settings. And it's one of those things where you just kind of get tired of hearing it, so you just, I'm not even going to answer that. But for this setting that we have here, because this is the mindset of some people. Well, we've had cancer, we have AIDS, we have HIV, we've had all these manner of diseases, but all of a sudden, there's a vaccine for this. Can you explain why that there's a vaccine for this? Could you explain to the people that, I don't want to give the answer because I know the answer because I try to read a little bit, but could you help them understand that there has been a consistency of doctors and scientists who have studied this for the last year to try to attempt to come up with a vaccine? Could you help us with that? Because you got some people saying, well, I ain't taking it because why ain't got a vaccine for cancer? Why don't I have a vaccine for this? And so I want to help those black folk that talk like that. I want to help them.
Vaccines don't work for every illness. Vaccines.
You didn't help somebody. If you was preaching, I would put $10 at your feet. Go ahead.
If you have a infectious disease, your body produces antibodies, and that's the immune system is the thing that deals with that. A lot of illnesses don't affect the immune system, so vaccines doesn't work for that. So there's lots of illnesses. For example, I have diabetes and I have high blood pressure. My mama had diabetes and had high blood pressure. My daddy had diabetes and had high blood pressure. That's genetics. The vaccine ain't gonna do nothing for that.
Okay.
So the thing of it is, illnesses that, infectious diseases, some that we can use vaccines to help you get an antibody response to it. It works for that, but vaccines don't work for every illness.
Okay. Is it true that viruses mutate and strains change?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. How is it that there are multiple strains with no evidence of further testing to prove the vaccine works against all the different strains?
Viruses is a microscopic entity that infects your body. It gets in, it can't maintain itself. It gets into your system and your body, the virus attacks, it goes into the cells, then it reproduces itself. If every time it reproduces itself and it doubles and triples and quadruples, it can make genetic information, and sometimes when it does that, it can have an abnormality in one of the reproductions. And that's a different strain. And that's what happens. It's normal for viruses to get and develop different strains. The name of the game is, if we have the virus and it's around and it's reproducing in everybody, if you get the vaccine in, 70–80% of the people get herd immunity. To knock that virus out then, it won't reproduce itself anymore. You won't get different strains. You can beat it. But the longer we wait around, and it's in you is working, it's in me is working, Sarah working, it can develop an abnormality or change in the genetic code and make it a different strain. So the longer we wait and play around and don't get everybody vaccinated, it's chances it's going to develop a different strain.
Okay. Wow. Okay. Is this vaccine safe for adults with severe asthma, with breathing issues that already have this condition? And is there a calculated possibility it would make things worse?
If you have lung disease, will it make it?
Well, this person has severe asthma, been dealing with it all his life, and breathing issues. And he was saying that taking the vaccine, would it make his condition worse?
Not necessarily, no. Because of the fact, if you don't take the vaccine and you get the virus and you have asthma severe, that's worse. That's much worse.
Okay.
Wait a minute, we missed a question.
Did we miss a question?
What if you get the first vaccine and don't get the second one? Does it become ineffective?
The first vaccine that you would get some immunity from that. If you don't get the second one, the studies have shown that they did the protocols on getting two. So if you only get one and don't get the other, it's going to be less effective than if you get two.
Okay. What over-the-counter supplements are good to increase the immune system? I take several and sometimes wonder if all of this works or if I'm just overdoing it.
More than likely.
That's a good question.
More than likely overdoing it.
More than likely overdoing it. So what supplements would you suggest to build our immune system?
Greens, beans, vegetables, tomatoes, fresh fruits, fish, less processed meats and things like that is more than just going out and getting supplements like zinc and all kinds of other stuff that people usually get for that. It really doesn't help that much.
Real good.
I like that. I like that. That's good. So, what about vitamins? Would you suggest any vitamins to take?
Well, not necessarily for the COVID, not necessarily. I've been in practice for like 41 years now.
Okay.
I've had patients who come in and they take, say, Doc, can I take these vitamins? I've been taking this. My nephew gave them to me, and he says this is the best thing ever. I said, well, they show me the bottle, and they look on the bottle, and they're saying that, let's say, for example, I'm going to use vitamin C, and it says this is how much vitamin C you should take per day. And let's just say the numbers is 10. In their bottle, they've got vitamin C 400. Well, you only need 10 per day, but you're taking 400. Your body is going to absorb what it needs, and then what else it doesn't need is going to excrete. So you're going to have vitamin-enriched urine. And so people spend a lot of money doing all that, and it really doesn't work. You're going to excrete it out, so you have a vitamin-enriched urine. So it doesn't really work. But people think that it works, and the vitamin salesman said, take this, take this, take this. And it's 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, I've seen even 100 times greater than what your body actually needs.
What?
Yeah.
You lying to me, Doc.
I'm telling
You mean all the Flintstone vitamins my mama had me eat when I was a kid wasn't doing that but make me go to the bathroom?
If you read White Castle all day long, you just grilled cheese sandwich, you need some vitamin.
Okay.
If you, little old lady, and you're 80 years old, and you eat, I always tell a story about my mama, as she was getting older and getting ill. She would have a teaspoon of whatever, eggs, a teaspoon of oatmeal, and a sip of water, And she said, oh, I ate. You can't tell me I didn't eat today now. I ate a bunch. Well, you need some supplements then.
Okay.
That kind of person needs vitamins. Needs
Okay.
supplements. So
it's just a matter of your diet.
yeah.
Real good.
So you gonna make me go out here and go to Denver and buy everything in the produce section, right?
But that's the whole thing though, because if you don't like supplements, is if your body needs it, you need it. But if you get, like I said, examples of the patients coming in and they've got vitamins that have 10 times or 100 times more than what the body would need, recommended dose for a particular day, and they just take it.
Let me ask you a question, and this is gonna help me for another thing. But do you have a doctor?
Yeah.
So the doctor got a doctor.
Preacher got a preacher?
Come on now. Come, I got to pass. Yes, sir.
Okay.
The doctor got a doctor.
Yeah.
That's going to help you down the road. Okay, I saw this one question. Okay, please explain the difference between strains, and we're going to wrap up in about 10 minutes. Please explain the difference between strains related and variants. Will vaccines work for all carrier strains and variants?
Excellent question. Right now, the major strains that we have out now is from a British strain and a South African strain. The thought process is that the vaccines that we have now works for both of them. However, as I said, if the longer we wait and the population doesn't get vaccinated, we're going to develop other strains. And potentially, some of those strains, this vaccine is not going to work for. But right now, it's doing pretty good. However, the studies are still coming out. There's a new one that's coming out, Johnson & Johnson. May be a little less effective in the South African, working against the South African strain.
Okay. All right, here's a question. This was kind of long, but it's okay. And I think some of this you already talked about. How do we know that these vaccinations work? Because I don't know. Seems to be the doctor response. Okay. Also, with the new strain of COVID, it was said that the vaccinations don't work as well. A new bloodstream infection from the vaccination as well as death. I took a genetic testing for cancer because so many people in my family died from cancer, and it proved the gene skipped me, and I was diagnosed with polycolon cancer. Is that right? Polycolon cancer. I took Zantac and Ranitidine for over 25 years. I'm a diabetic and allergic to diabetes medication like my mother was. So this individual is saying, how does vaccination, how we know it works, especially when there's a new strain coming out, and she's had some very health challenges, not just her, but her family as well. So she's asking, how do we know that this is going to work? And I guess he already said, we really don't know, because the studying of it is still going forth. And right now, they have produced this. So I guess so we're all kind of like testing out this vaccination.
Absolutely.
Okay.
But the thing about that, though, is that if you have comorbidities, like diabetes is a big one. And we know if you have diabetes and you're overweight, that if you get the COVID-19 virus, your risk of death or mortality is higher than if you don't have those. So the odds are is that if I have diabetes and I'm overweight and I have illnesses in my family, I'm going to show enough hurry up and get my vaccine to try to cover me from that.
Okay.
Because you're playing the risk.
Okay. So basically, okay, hear me out. To all my peoples that I pastor, it's a matter of conditioning yourself. This is what I'm hearing. I'm doing my retake of what we just talked about tonight. Okay, so I'm fat. So that means that I need to start living a life, if I want to live, to take care of myself and all other conditions, so that if COVID does come my way, I won't have to worry about that because I'm minimizing the threat by the way I eat, exercise, put my body in shape, so that if COVID does attack my body, that I have a chance on the high end of making it out. That's what I just heard. Is that right?
Partly.
Partly, okay.
But you can be lean and trim and fit and run marathons, and the virus still can get you.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
So
Yeah, that's true.
it's respiratory, is in there.
Right. Well, we talking about for is mortality. The high risk of death, though. That's what I'm talking about.
It's, you still, the mortality risk increases if you have those things.
Right.
It doesn't say that if you're lean and trim and run marathons that you don't die from COVID.
Okay.
Still.
Yeah. Okay, what do you say about individuals who have already taken vaccines from other things such as shingles, and they refuse to take this vaccine, this vaccination? The young lady had a friend, she took the shingles vaccine, so she won't wait to take the COVID-19 vaccine. What do you say to that?
You should take the COVID-19.
Okay.
Other vaccines they're for different illnesses.
Okay.
Like I talked about, polio, measles, mumps, rubella, smallpox. All those are different vaccines for different illnesses. That doesn't mean if you have those, you don't take the COVID.
Okay. So what about we have this? This is a good one, and we'll wrap up with this one. What about people with other diseases that there are no cures for? Other conditions that people are living with, and how does that affect when they take the vaccine with them already having a condition that is uncurable?
Well, difficult to try to follow that one. For people who are terminally ill, for example, and they're on hospice,
Okay.
do they need to take a COVID-19? No.
Okay. But these people are up and viable. They're just living with something.
You need to take the COVID-19?
Okay. So to put it in a nutshell, Dr. Morrow says that we need to take this vaccine.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And again, remember, the testing is still being done, research is still going forth, and we still got a long road ahead. Is that right?
Absolutely.
That's right. Thank you so much for coming. Is there anything you want to add, say to the people?
Make sure you take your vaccine.
Get your vaccine. Thank you so much, Dr. Morrow. This has been very informative, very enlightening. These individuals on here appreciate it. Thank you, individuals who joined us on tonight. Please share this. We need to get this information out. We thank Dr. Morrow for lending us his time, and we praise God for his talent and his studying and his knowability. We praise God for him. So glad to have you here, man. I'm so thankful. His mom was my dad's godmother. So great family, great people. And we praise God for Dr. Morrow. Dr. Morrow, if you would, look there, tell them where they can find you. Go ahead and throw your information out there. It might be you taking some new patients.
Not now.
You ain't taking no new patients?
Not now.
Not now. Okay, so when you're ready to take them, give them your information and where they can find Dr. Morrow.
As I said, that I've been practicing family medicine for over 41 years now. I'm in the process of stopping my private practice and decreasing my time. And so I'm
Trying to retire?
Not now.
But you got a daughter that practice, right?
Yeah.
Where's she at?
She's in Jacksonville, Florida.
Oh, nice. Nice. And she's beautiful. She's fine, too. That's awesome. That's right. She's in Jacksonville. That's awesome. Okay, so Dr. Morrow was trying to retire, and so he said he don't want to be bothered with you. No, I'm just teasing.
I do not say that.
No, but we praise God for 41 years. You've been practicing all my life. That's awesome. That's all. To God be the glory. Again, we thank God for you all. We thank you for your questions. Great insight. Thank you for sharing. Thank you for coming again. Pastor Kill, thank you for sharing this. And we got to get this information out. Listen, have a great night. The Lord be with you. God bless you. Have a good night. Stay warm. And don't forget, God is faithful and he can be trusted. Have a good night. Thank you for joining us.